Logan had built empires from boardrooms, not backwoods. His world revolved around strategy, quarterly growth, and being in control. So, when he mistakenly booked a rugged survival camp for his daughter instead of a luxury retreat, he thought it could be fixed with a phone call. But the camp had a strict no refund, no exit policy. And just like that, the man who mastered billion-dollar deals found himself knee-deep in mud and emotional story moments he never expected. His first glimpse of Claire was like watching thunderclouds roll in, firm, unshaken, with a stare that cut through pretense.
Hello, I'm going to tell you this incredible story. Remember that to receive new stories like this, you can subscribe to the channel, like the video, and activate the notification bell. Without further ado, let's get to the rest of the story.
She didn't blink at Logan's tailored jacket or condescending tone. Instead, she handed him a shovel and pointed toward the compost toilets. It was the beginning of something uncomfortable, raw, and surprisingly touching. Stories like this don't begin with a plan, they begin with a mistake. Emily, his daughter, didn't complain. She adapted faster than he could unpack his designer luggage. She ran barefoot, climbed ropes, made friends, and sang songs around fires. Meanwhile, Logan checked for Wi-Fi and barked orders no one cared to follow. For the first time, she was blossoming, and he was floundering. It was clear control had left the building. The first night, Logan tried to call his assistant to fix this nonsense. No signal. The second night, he tried to leave, but Claire simply raised a brow and read back the waiver he'd signed. The third night, he sat alone by the fire, watching his daughter laugh like he hadn't seen in years. In that moment, he realized something real was happening, something unfiltered. A real story unfolding right in front of him. He tried bonding with Emily, but every attempt came off forced. She didn't want a business partner. She wanted a dad. Logan had never failed a deal in his life, but now, even marshmallows were burning under his leadership. Claire watched it all silently, offering no lifelines. Just the occasional smirk and the quiet confidence of someone who knew he'd eventually break and grow. At mealtime, Logan fumbled with camp trays, spilled juice on his khakis, and was ignored by a group of 10-year-olds discussing squirrel tracks. Emily, meanwhile, led her team like a tiny general. She was thriving in chaos. Logan was used to charts and metrics, but here, the only measurement was heart. And for once, he was behind in something that truly mattered. Each night brought more discomfort, and strangely, more clarity. Logan had built walls, routines, and systems, but none of them could touch what this camp was revealing. Claire's voice echoed in his head. Out here, you don't control nature, you respect it. That line hit deeper than she knew, because maybe, just maybe, it wasn't just nature he needed to respect. Something inside Emily had shifted. She was no longer clinging to Logan's shadow, but running free in the sunlight of her own choices. She woke up before the whistle, led her team through obstacle courses, and shared jokes with kids she'd just met. Meanwhile, Logan sat on the edge of his cot, coffee in hand, watching her from afar. This wasn't the daughter he brought. It was someone braver, louder, alive. He tried catching up, stepping in her new world, but every move felt awkward, misplaced. Emily didn't need his approval anymore. She needed his trust. And trust, for a man who'd built his life on certainty, was the hardest currency to give. When she asked him to let her go canoeing without him, he hesitated. That pause said everything, more than a lecture ever could. The father-daughter challenge was supposed to be a bonding moment. Instead, it shattered what little thread still connected them. Logan's instinct to control turned teamwork into tension. Emily cried, not because she failed, but because she felt invisible. Claire found her later by the lake, throwing stones into the water, wishing her dad would just see her, not fix her. Claire didn't offer Logan comfort, just a truth that felt like a slap. You're not parenting, she said. You're managing. That line clung to him like smoke from last night's fire. He thought giving Emily everything meant love. But maybe, all along, she just wanted him to stop leading and start listening. A simple, emotional story playing out in real time. He paced around camp that night, sleepless and wrecked. For the first time, it wasn't about business meetings he was missing. It was about memories he'd never made. The silence around him felt loud. Every stick cracking beneath his boots reminded him of things he'd stepped over too quickly in life. Real story moments that now hurt more because they'd been ignored. Emily didn't even look at him the next morning. And maybe she was right. He'd taken her to a place to challenge her. But it was him who cracked first. Claire watched from a distance. Not judging, just waiting. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones no one teaches you. They come when you realize you've become a stranger in your own child's life. Logan sat near the fire that evening, shoulders sunken, pride scorched. No one needed his spreadsheets. No one followed his orders. And yet, life was moving forward without him. Emily was becoming someone extraordinary, and he almost missed it. He stared into the flames, not as a CEO, but as a man lost in his own story. And the storm brewing in the sky felt like more than just weather. The storm rolled in without mercy, dark, growling, unpredictable. Campfires died under the rain, and children were rushed into cabins. Logan's phone had no signal. Panic clenched his chest when he realized Emily wasn't with her group. The man who once scheduled every moment of his life now found himself in chaos, armed only with instinct and a deep, rising fear that this was no longer about control, but connection. Claire moved fast, handing out flashlights and orders. But when Logan said Emily was missing, everything stopped. For a moment, he wasn't the arrogant outsider. He was just a dad whose daughter was somewhere out there. Claire looked him in the eyes and said, "Then let's go." And so, into the woods they ran, through wind, branches, and a quiet that screamed. It wasn't just a search. It was a real story unfolding in the dark. Each branch that slapped his face, each slip in the mud, chipped away at the man Logan used to be. He wasn't thinking about stocks or status. He was thinking about his little girl, out there, scared, or maybe brave. And then he heard her voice, soft, steady, calling out, "Over here." Logan rushed toward the sound, flashlight shaking in his grip. He found Emily cradling a younger camper, shielding him with her body from the cold. Her face lit up, not with fear, but with calm resilience. "He twisted his ankle," she said. "I couldn't leave him." Logan knelt beside her, heart pounding, not from exertion, but from realization. His daughter didn't just survive, she led. A touching story that rewrote everything. He took off his soaked jacket and wrapped it around her without a word. Not as a solution, not as protection, but as love, silent, sincere, overdue. Claire appeared moments later, took one look at the scene, and simply nodded. No praise, no lecture, just presence. The kind that speaks louder than any performance. Back at camp, Logan didn't speak much, but people looked at him differently. Not as the outsider in loafers, but as someone who showed up when it mattered most. Emily sat beside him in the fire, their shoulders touching, the silence between them finally feeling warm. Something had changed, and not just in her. The storm had passed, but something inside Logan was still shifting. Later that night, as the rain softened to a whisper on the roof, Logan found himself staring at the ceiling, heart wide open. He wasn't the hero of this emotional story. Emily was. But maybe that was the point. He didn't need to lead her anymore. He just needed to walk beside her. And somewhere between thunder and stillness, he realized this was the first time he actually liked the man he was becoming. The sun rose slowly on the final morning of camp, casting golden light over dew-soaked grass. It was the kind of day that feels like an ending and a beginning. Campers gathered around the fire pit for the farewell circle, laughter echoing, backpacks stuffed, hearts full. Logan stood on the edge, hands in pockets, unsure where he fit in this picture. But he was there, and that finally meant something. Emily stepped forward when her name was called to speak. A hush fell over the group, and for the first time, Logan saw how everyone looked at her, not just as a camper, but as a leader. Her voice was steady, humble, and radiant with something real. She thanked her team, the counselors, and then paused. The silence that followed was the kind that pulls the world into stillness. "I learned how to climb, how to build a fire, and how to trust myself," she said. But the biggest thing I learned was that I don't have to be alone. She glanced at Logan. Because my dad showed up, her voice cracked just slightly. Not with answers, but with his heart. And that made all the difference. In a camp full of emotional story moments, this one cut the deepest. Logan felt something break inside him. Not pain, but pride. Pure and overwhelming. Emily ran into his arms, the crowd cheering behind them. But in that moment, it was just them. No business, no expectations, no distance. Just a father and daughter finding each other again. He didn't need applause. Her words were enough. They were everything. Claire watched from the back, arms crossed, lips curled into the slightest smile. She had seen it happen, slowly, messily, beautifully. She didn't interrupt their moment. She didn't need to. This wasn't about her or even the camp. It was about something bigger, something earned. A real story born not from perfection, but from presence. Logan sat by the fire afterward, still holding Emily's speech in his chest. Kids packed their bags, counselors hugged their groups, and somewhere in the distance, life was calling everyone back. But he lingered, eyes tracing the smoke curling upward. It smelled like burnt wood and second chances. Touching stories weren't just for books. They were made in moments like these. He thought about how close he came to missing all of it. How one wrong reservation led to everything right. And as the crowd slowly scattered, the fire dimming, Logan stayed a little longer. Because sometimes, before you return to the world, you need to sit with the one that changed you. And quietly, he realized some goodbyes aren't endings. They're invitations to something more. As the camp wound down and cabins emptied, the world felt quieter, like it was holding its breath. Logan walked the ground slowly, memorizing the trees, the trails, the memories. Not long ago, this place felt foreign, even hostile. Now, it felt like it had left fingerprints on his soul. Emily was already packing up, but Logan lingered because something else was keeping him there. Claire stood near the fire pit, her usual stance, arms folded, eyes scanning. But this time, when Logan approached, her expression softened. No sarcasm, no shields, just two people finally meeting on the same ground. "You survived," she teased, her voice lighter than he'd ever heard. And Logan laughed, not politely, but deeply, like someone who finally understood the joke. They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling between them. Words weren't needed. Not yet. Everything they'd been through was still there, just beneath the surface. The tension, the resistance, the unlikely respect. It wasn't a grand romance, not the kind that explodes overnight. But it was real, quiet and steady, like embers refusing to die. An emotional story still writing itself in small, meaningful sparks. Claire reached in her pocket and pulled out something small, rough, weathered. A flintstone. "This is what we teach kids to use when the fire won't start," she said, placing it in Logan's palm. Some sparks are worth fighting for. It wasn't flirtation. It was a challenge, an invitation, a whisper of what could be. Logan closed his fingers around it slowly, reverently. He didn't respond with words. Just a look. The kind that says, "I see you now." The fire between them wasn't burning wild. It was burning steady. He didn't know what would happen when they left camp, but for the first time, he didn't need certainty. He just needed to remember what it felt like to show up and stay. That was enough for now. Emily called to him from across the field, ready to go. Logan stood up, brushing the dirt from his hands. But before turning away, he glanced at Claire one more time. "You're good at this," he said. She shrugged, smiling. "So, are you eventually?" They both laughed. It wasn't goodbye. It was a pause, like the last page of a chapter you don't want to end. As he walked back to Emily, flintstone in his pocket, Logan felt something powerful shift. Not just in his relationship with his daughter, but within himself. Maybe life wasn't about control. Maybe it was about showing up, falling down, and getting back up beside someone who sees you. Someone who challenges you. Someone who sparks something inside. And sometimes, that's the real story worth telling. Have you ever made a mistake that turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you? Or maybe you've tried to protect someone you love so much that you didn't realize you were holding them back? What would you have done if you were in Logan's place? Be honest, Would you have stayed at that camp or run the other way? We want to hear your thoughts. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Drop a comment below and share your own emotional story. We read every single one. And if stories like this move you, inspire you, or make you see life a little differently, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. That way, you won't miss the next real story we're about to tell. Because trust me, it's one you'll never forget.